episode number 7. So, I want to also talk about why I think a big component of investing is the psychological aspect of it. Um, this is one of the most surprising things I have learned so far is that investing is less about the numbers and more about the psychology. For example, two people can have access to the exact same information, the same data, the same opportunities, and still make completely different decisions. And a lot of that comes down to how we think and feel about things. And fear is the biggest contributor to us selling things too early. Additionally, overconfidence can lead someone to take unnecessary risk, and impatience can push someone to chase short-term gains instead of staying consistent in their investment strategy. And what's interesting is that these behaviors are not unique to investing. They're extremely human and something that we do all the time. And that's why there's been a very huge emphasis on, or a large emphasis on, using AI models and machine algorithms to create investment strategies for individuals. That's what a lot of big companies do. They'll have AI models that are able to compute how the market is working, or how the prices are fluctuating from day to day, because it limits the psychological aspect of it. And as humans, we make it extremely visible. And because it forces you to handle an uncertainty. And like I said earlier in a previous episode about how we are very bad at predicting outcomes. We can make, kind of okay decisions, but we can make fairly solid decisions in the long term, but I think we make very poor decisions in the short term, especially when it comes to investing. And so this was an incredibly powerful experience for me to learn, and I saw this a number of times. It happened. It happened when Iran and Israel were in a conflict, and the United States had dropped its first bomb using a B-2 bomber on the nuclear facilities that existed in Iran. Now, the market completely like went downhill that day. Like it literally completely changed, because there was a lot of drama in the world and what people thought, and people are very uncertain about what things are going to happen. And it really just showed me that, like, it's not super consistent. And but what it did show me, though, is that things inevitably do come back to a stabilized price. So we see these kinds of lines, right? Sometimes it'll go up, and along the way there'll be huge deviations, right? And a lot of those deviations can be due to the psychological aspect of it, right? Now, I think part of investing actually taught me more about how it's not just about growing your money, but also understanding yourself. I feel like I gained a new perspective on how I make decisions under pressure, and what my gut feel is, and how that affects my outcomes. And it honestly investing kind of trained me a bit to not approach everything as this could be the worst possible outcome, or this could be the best possible outcome, but rather, what can I do to make sure that I don't lose my investment? Thinking about it in terms of what can I do to learn, what can I do to not lose my investment, I think is a better strategy than just thinking about how can I make the best gains, the quickest gains possible. And once you start making those intentional decisions, you start to learn a lot more about yourself, I think. And that's definitely an experience that I've had for sure.